we talk about, I want to manifest this person in my life. I want to manifest this person in my life. Like, bro, what are you doing to manifest that person in your life? How are you elevating yourself to be able to manifest that type of person?
Irrespective of the religion, when we are praying, who's at the other end listening to us?
The way I understand it, and the way I've experienced it actually, is that there is one undifferentiated, indivisible truth. To understand Bhagwan, or to understand Allah, or to understand God fully, or we're understanding Allah, God, Bhagwan to prove others wrong.
Everything coexisted very beautifully, and in our, like you said, that coexistence has been lost.
So there's something that is creating distance in relationships that needs to be addressed.
Sometimes we are caught in the midst of, trying to see what was wrong with the other person, and we don't probably introspect and realize what was actually wrong with us.
Yeah. And they're talking about all the things that were wrong with you.
What is manifestation? Like, what we have heard is visualize and you will get it. But what is the exact term? And could you explain it from an Indian point of view and the Western point of view?
The Rig Veda, it says, Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vadanti, which says that the truth is one, but the wise call it by different names.
Every Hindu, I would say, would be knowing this, the Hanuman Chalisa.
Yeah.
So, what is the power if one recites it on a daily basis? When we talk about spirituality, or rather everyone talks about spirituality, there's a lot of stuff that people talk about, saying that you should not indulge in romantic relationships with other people. That Sanatan Dharma ka definition is like, I have to be pious, I don't have to like I mentioned, involve myself in romantic relationships, physical relationships, whatever it may be. So what is your view on it? If you can, define it for us in a better way.
This is going in like a direction of Brahmacharya.
Relating it a little to Brahmacharya as well. Sanatan Dharma to Brahmacharya, spirituality to Brahmacharya and all. But not just talking about physical, this also love as well.
Yeah.
So what is your definition? Can you love someone and still be spiritual?
I think if we just take a step back from spirituality for a sec, and we'll come to it soon enough. If we take a step back from spirituality, from Sanatan Dharma, and we look at the nature of relationships in our society at the moment, we find that you have people who are getting married in their 20s and 30s, and that's the first relationship that they've been in. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because that was the reality of our grandparents' generation and they clearly made it work. But you find that you have two people who aren't educated on how to relate with each other, how to navigate challenges, how to have tough conversations. We don't even know what it means, like if in that paradigm, one wouldn't even know what it means to truly love someone outside of the initial attraction to them, or outside of how they make me feel, and that's a problem. Like, don't you think that's a problem?
It is, yeah.
Surely you want a paradigm where you've been in love and you've had your heart broken, and that process has taught you what love really is and what the right behaviors are and why you go into relationships. So my personal view is this, that like, if we want a strong society, any society, where Indian, Western, Hindu, other religion, anything, it needs to be built on the basis of strong relationships. And I feel like it's important to have those relationships and to have those romantic relationships as well. The problem comes when people equate romantic relationships with sexual relationships. And I think sex could be two things. It could be the natural culmination of two people's love for each other that expresses itself in physical union. Or it could be the act of taking pleasure from someone else's body. And I think if we are able to shape our romantic relationships to be expressions of the former rather than the latter, then that actually gives relationship a lot of depth.
Right.
And to get to the point where a relationship culminates in the physical union of two people as equals, in an act of even service, like I want the other person to have a really good time, actually takes a lot of work to get to that point. Might not take a lot of time. If the intent is right, the work is done, you can get to that point.
Right.
So this is just like, this is a completely non-spiritual, non-denominational, non-religious perspective on what relationships are, and what premarital relationships in particular tend to be. And I feel like people, where they are in relationships to express love for each other and learn from their experience, being vulnerable and open to having their heart broken, is a healthier paradigm than people who might stay away from the physical act of being in a relationship, but mentally be consumed by that thought. And obviously it's not clear. These are two stereotypes, or they are two, polemic positions. But if you look at India, we are one of the biggest consumers of porn in the world.
Yeah.
So
Sadly,
clearly some of the single people are watching it. And clearly some of the married people are also watching it. So there's something that is creating distance in relationships that needs to be addressed. Right?
Yeah.
Now, we come to the Hindu perspective on it. And there are beautiful examples, so many examples from the Puranas, from the Itihasas, like Ram's love for Sita is, wow, it's amazing. Like when Ram lost Sita, he was distraught. He was really distraught. And he spent his time in tears, and he would he would ask the trees, like, have you seen Sita? And he would ask the animals. And Ram didn't need to do that. He was a self-realized master. He knew what the truth was. But he demonstrates to us what a good partner looks like. Like what unwanted separation, like the real feelings of angst that we have. Unfortunately, sometimes their partners die. Like what are you going to do? Cancer comes and steals someone away. At that time, that person must be thinking like, oh my God, this has happened. And oh my God, I'm feeling guilty because I'm a spiritual person and I should be having a higher perspective. At that time, they can remember that Bhagwan Shri Ram had cried for Sita and feel okay that the separation causes pain. Like what a beautiful example.
Yeah.
Today we talk about, I want to manifest this person in my life. I want to manifest this person in my life. Like, bro, what are you doing to manifest that person in your life? How are you elevating yourself to be able to manifest that type of person? We see this example in the process that Ma Parvati went through to unite with Shiva. And it's not that she had to go through it. She was Adi Parashakti. She was self-realized. She knew who she was. But she did it as an example for us. If we want to manifest a partner like Shiva, we have to be willing to go through the process like Parvati. So it goes both ways. Like, see, Ram Sita is the male counterpart working for the female. Shiva Parvati is the female counterpart working for the male. Then you have so many examples of queer relationships through our Shastras. Like, if I look at the West, one of the biggest culture wars that they have there right now is gender and transgenderism. It's a huge area. Right? And in India, we are open. We have a very clear view that transgenders are a part of society. And yes, you can find examples of how they are mistreated, but they are not shunned by society as a whole. Acceptance of transgenderism isn't an election issue in India at all. In fact, it is a legal requirement, in fact, a legal emancipation that trans people can have their own certificates that say that they are a neutral non-female or non-male gender. So that has come because there's a foundation that has been laid in Shastra. And then finally, if we think about it, there are Upanishads, which is the highest philosophical schools, philosophical texts within Hinduism that are part of the Vedas that discuss relationships. And there was a beautiful Upanishad called the Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad, where the Rishi and his wife are in a discussion. And the Rishi says, ultimately, you can only love someone as deeply as you love yourself. So pursue that relationship that we have with ourselves and become available to be good, romantic, committed, available partners to the other person.
Yeah.
I think
Elevate yourself.
Yeah.
First, I mean, because we keep, it's so true.
I think
Oh my God.
sometimes we are caught in the midst of, trying to see what was wrong with the other person, and we don't probably introspect and realize what was actually wrong with us.
Yeah.
And
they're talking about all the things that were wrong with you and telling the friends about it.
I think, it's not like, see, a relationship can go southward either ways. It's not like, everything is going to last. Like if you're with someone, there is a chance that you might not end up being with that person. But precisely like the way you said, you first need to see what you need to better yourself for if you want to manifest something better or if you want to manifest someone else. It's like that. So since you brought the term manifestation,
Yeah.
Manifestation is this one term that has just been going round and round and round. In terms, our generation, our parents' generation, all over the world.
People use it very loosely.
Yeah,
now.
it's just like you want this manifested, you'll get it.
Yeah.
What is manifestation? Like, what we have heard is visualize and you will get it. But what is the exact term? And could you explain it from an Indian point of view and the Western point of view?
So the Western point of view is informed largely by this book called The Secret.
Yeah.
And a whole host of manifestation coaches that book has created, right? And I don't want to shade the book, I don't want to shade the people. But the process according to that book is relatively clear, which is visualize what you want, make it tangible, like create mood boards or write it down. And then once you set the intention out in the universe, trust that it will happen. Yeah?
Yeah.
Fairly straightforward. The Indic view of it, the Shastric view of it, an Indic view, encompasses more than just more than just Shastra. It encompasses society over time, how it has manifested various outcomes. So the Indic view of it is that, or Bharatiya view, to use to use a term that's sort of suddenly come back in vogue, is that you set a high vision.
Okay.
And trust that it'll happen.
Okay.
Make it tangible. So far aligned with the Western view. But there are two elements that is there in the Indic view that the Western view doesn't have. The first one is make sure that higher vision is higher than yourself. Don't just make it about me, my house, my clothes, my body, my promotion. It can still be about a house, it can still be about clothes, it can still be about a body, it can still be about promotion, but with the purpose of serving my family, serving society, serving someone else, setting an example. There's so many reasons. Make the reason to be more than you. Okay, so that's the first big difference. The second one is act, bro. Like people make a vision board and they just sit it and stare at it and say, I'm manifesting this. But if you don't actually do something, it's not going to happen. Like, how is it going to happen? I just don't get it. It blows my mind. People say, I'm manifesting, a different physique. And I'm like, okay, well, how often are you going to the gym? It's like, oh, I may go for a walk twice a week. I was like, it's not going to happen.
Fair enough.
I can tell you that. So those are the two big differences. Like, make sure that the vision is higher than yourself, and do something about it. And when we add all of those elements together, high vision for more than just me, do what I need to, like, make it tangible. So high vision, make it tangible, make it more than just me. Do what I need to do and trust that it'll come. You end up describing a concept in the Bhagavad Gita that is described as karma yoga. So this sort of method of selfless devotional action that is for a higher purpose has been described in depth in the Bhagavad Gita. Like Krishna, literally, if you think about the Bhagavad Gita, it's 6 chapters long. The first chapter is Arjuna's challenges. The second chapter and the 18th chapter, which is the last chapter, are about summaries of the Gita. Okay, summaries of the message. The third, fourth, fifth, sixth, 4 chapters, Bhagavan Shri Krishna dedicates to Karma Yoga. The next 6 are dedicated, so from 7 through till 12 are dedicated to Bhakti Yoga, and then the last 5 before we get to the 18th chapter, so 14 through till 17 are dedicated to Jnana Yoga. Obviously there's a lot of depth, obviously there's Bhakti in the first 6 and also in the last 6, but this is a broad division. Why does Bhagwan spend so much time talking about Karma Yoga? Why does he spend so much time talking about manifestation? Because to be available to spirituality, we need to achieve what we want to achieve first. Right? Like, so we are all working in the world. We're all living our lives. You know, the Bhagavad Gita wasn't given in some holiday retreat, or wasn't given in an ashram, or wasn't given in a forest. It was given in the middle of a battlefield. Not even close to a battlefield. In the middle, where both sides are seeing that there's a conversation happening. Both sides are seeing that Arjuna has completely broken down. Imagine, you go to watch a cricket World Cup final and Kohli gets into the middle of the field and has a complete nervous breakdown. Everyone is seeing it. That's kind of what happened. So it is meant for us to live our lives. You know, and we have this profound example of Karma Yoga. And, you know, there are really beautiful examples of how it has been implemented throughout our history to achieve amazing things for India. So, for example, if you think about what's described as Bharat's golden age, is the rule of Chandragupta Maurya.
Right.
And there's under the tutelage of Chanakya, of course.
Right.
And there's a very beautiful exchange between Chanakya and Chandragupta Maurya at the start of Chandragupta's reign, where one day he goes to Chanakya very angry. And he's like, you have locked all of the biggest traders, the biggest businessmen, the wealth creators of our capital in, or you've not even locked them in jail, you've made them stand in court, for judgment. Like, how can you do this? Like, these are the wealth creators, like, what have they done? And he's like, tax evasion. And Chandragupta Maurya is just like, tax evasion? For all the things that you drag them to court, tax, and even today, like, so many people evade the taxes.
Right.
Yeah.
The top people, I'm not criticizing the industrialists, mind you, because they are the ones who are actually paying the taxes and making society.
Right.
I'm criticizing a lot of other wealthy people through other industries, and a lot of people in between who choose not to pay.
Right.
The salaried class gets taken out of
you
our
don't have a
salary
choice.
before. You don't have a choice.
Correct,
But there are a lot of people evading taxes in the
Yeah.
middle. So he's like, tax evasion? What kind of a reason is that, bro?
Petty, this.
Yeah. Not bro, I'm sure he didn't say that. And
Brethren.
Chanakya says something really beautiful. He gives a very beautiful example in return. He says that the wealth of society is like water. It's the individual endeavors that are streams that nourish big rivers. So those streams and rivers of wealth flow into a sea of total wealth. That sea water then evaporates, forms clouds, goes back and rains on the streams and rivers to then flow into the sea again.
Right.
Individual wealth creators in society, individuals are like the streams and rivers. The big industrialists, the big traders are like the rivers. The total wealth is like the sea. The government's job is to take from that total a small portion and rain it onto society so that it feeds the process over and over again.
Right.
And as a result of that, productivity continues.
Right.
If any one of those steps stops, if small creators stop their work, if big creators pull from the system, if the government doesn't do its job, the whole system breaks down.
Yeah.
And that was his vision. He didn't care about a small group of powerful people in the capital. He was like, the whole society needs to benefit. And it was that mindset that actually reflects specific sections in the Bhagavad Gita where Bhagwan says that the whole world, this entire creation is based on the principle of yajna. It is based on the principle of sacrifice. A parent sacrifices their sleep to care for their child when they are crying at night or they have fever. A student sacrifices his sport or time with his, love of his life or her life to be able to focus on being a good student and earn a way or on, a vocation. A guru sacrifices his family life to treat all of the shishyas in his gurukul as his own. It's only this principle of sacrifice that will nourish society as a whole. So when we are talking about manifestation and we take out sacrifice, we just end up in a paradigm where manifestation becomes not really possible. It's just like baaton ke bhoot.
Yeah.
And in the situations where it actually does manifest, it becomes self-serving. And you look at the Western world today. I mean, I live in London, and I don't want to say the Western world is bad, India is good. There are lots of positive things in the West, but certainly this is something that I come across every day. And it's a huge mindset difference between, say, the Eastern world, not just India, but places like Singapore and other parts of Asia, and the West, which is that the West is probably the most wealthy, the most comfortable, the most secure society it has ever been.
Yeah.
But people in their hearts have a void that they're trying to fill. They're trying to fill that with debt. They're trying to fill that with substance. They're trying to fill that with so many things. In India, on the other hand, you could be in a slum. And I live next to a slum. I've been inside slums. I'm not saying that I have lived a poor life. I'm acknowledging that I have lived a life of privilege, but I have also properly experienced poverty when I was young. You asked me what life growing up in India was like. When I was 14 years old, I only had one pair of socks. One pair of socks for the whole weekend. You can imagine a 14-year-old boy's feet get really smelly. Yeah. Right? Those socks used to get really dirty. But I was too embarrassed to go and ask my parents for another pair of socks because I knew that they didn't have the money to do this. So it's, yes, I haven't experienced crushing poverty where we were brought on this way. But yeah, there have been chapters of my life where I have experienced homelessness. Now, I'm not going to talk about it on the channel because I don't think everything needs to be shared with everyone at every time. But yes, as a category, I have experienced homelessness. But there's a mindset, a drive that comes in India that says that I can overcome my circumstances.
Yeah.
So even if you see Asia's largest slum, Dharavi, or any other working class neighborhood in Mumbai, people are doing stuff. They are driving towards something. They will take out a cart and beautifully arrange the vegetables and go to the area and hawk their goods, and they will swap WhatsApp numbers with their clients so that the clients can message them and they will do this. Right? This sort of I'm going to pick myself up from my, whatever, pull my socks up and bootstrap myself to success. This is a drive that we see in India, and it's not just a cultural response to periods of lack, but it is a mindset that has endured despite centuries of crushing occupation and slavery.
Right.
And actually it's the mindset that's going to drive us in the 21st century.
Actually, us being here is a testament to what you just said. Because of years and years of so many things happening, we've still stuck it out.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man. Wow. This whole bit
I think
was manifestation.
Trance, a different this right now. It's still hitting me.
Absorb it.
Yeah, man. Wow.
I mean, I don't think I've ever heard a beautiful explanation the way you just gave it right now.
I'm not just trying to praise you.
Yeah,
genuinely.
Because
I take all of this credit and give it to my guru. So none of this is me speaking. None of this is my knowledge. It's I've been incredibly privileged to have received tutelage from masters and people who have been empowered by masters. And so this knowledge has come down to me, and really my responsibility here, apart from spreading it, is to utilize it to undertake a spiritual process.
Could we please know your guru's name?
So, it's very interesting. In my life, the Guru has manifested not as one person, but as a tattva, as a principle. And what that means is that through different stages of my life, that tattva has manifested in the form of different people. So I was born into a family that had a family guru, and we just call them Guruji. We don't really take their name or speak about their name and stuff like that. But I was born under the protection of a guru and a care of a guru. And then when I was about 5 years old, he attained Mahasamadhi and left this world. And then when I went to university, I studied under Chinmaya Mission. And so Swami Chinmayananda and all of his books are what I've studied. If people were to ask me in the most sort of straightforward way, who is your guru? I would say Swami Chinmayananda. And you know, he has then taught, empowered acharyas whom I've learned from, who have been, that Guru Tattva manifested in a tangible, experiential form for me. Then there's been many years without, like, having been away from Chinmaya Mission because I was working and traveling and stuff like that. But there's other masters whom I've listened to who have been particularly inspirational. I've had the privilege of meeting many of them. I've taken sadhana diksha from others. So that Guru Tattva has manifested in many people. And I think it's an important message to share, because people feel either they feel like I'm not going to progress unless I have a guru, or they feel scared that what if I get a guru and they turn out
he's not good enough.
Yeah, like they turn out to exploit me. And I think the reality is, like, as long as we are seeking, we are protected by a Guru Tattva. And that Guru Tattva will manifest in the right form, in the right place, at the right time, to be able to guide us. And even if we have situations where someone may be exploiting us, I mean, thankfully it's never happened to me, but I've read of another master who in his autobiography talks about how he went searching for a guru and found someone who exploited him, but it was the Guru Tattva that protected him and took him out of there and gave him the experiences that he had to have.
Yeah. What's Hinduism and Sanatan Dharma to a Gen Z?
I think Hinduism is quite difficult to understand for most people. And the reason is because there's so many different variations of it. Firstly, there are so many deities that are, incorrectly called gods in English. There's so many deities, there's so many practices, they're so diverse from each other. Like Hinduism can be strictly vegetarian and not even having onion and garlic as one expression of it. It can also be offering meat and alcohol to a deity. There's such a variation, there's such a diversity, such breadth to it, that it has always been difficult to understand, not just in today's world, but even 200, 300 years ago, when the first sort of chronicling of Hinduism as one ism started.
And there's a whole history to that.
And there's a history to that, and there's a purpose to that as well. There's a certain lens that was taken for historical reasons. But if we were to understand Hinduism, I think we need to have a Hindu lens to it, right? Like, say for example, if I want to understand Anvay, and Anvay's journey in yoga, and he's studying, how to, he's doing an MA in yoga. I can't say Anvay is studying to become a fitness instructor, because it's very different. It is what you're studying is a lot deeper, it goes a lot further than physical postures, whereas getting a personal training certification or a fitness certification takes a few months, and obviously takes a little bit of effort, but it's a different thing. Right? It is a different thing. Like, if you're having, Pritish, you're having idli sambar,
I don't like it, but okay.
What do you like?
I don't like South Indian food.
You don't like South Indian? Okay, fine. I like South Indian. We like So we are having idli sambar. And someone described sambar as mixed vegetable stew. Technically it is a stew, and technically it has a variety of vegetables, but it's not a mixed vegetable stew. In the same way that a Hungarian goulash is a mixed vegetable stew, vegetarian goulash, right? It means different things, and that's why when we use language, particularly English language, it is not just the words that we're using, but the concepts in those words. And each of those concepts carry weight. So monotheism, polytheism carries not just the dictionary meaning, but are loaded with value judgments on what it means to be monotheistic or polytheistic. one god versus multiple gods is not just the dictionary meaning of the word, but carries with it like what it means to be a religion with multiple gods, which were effectively the prehistoric, ancient Greek, ancient Roman religions that were wiped out.
To impose their
subsequent faiths.
I
don't want to go into it because it's not a historical podcast, it's not a political podcast, it's a statement of fact. Right? But those dictionary words carry weight. So when we start to understand Hinduism and we use words like gods, rituals, and polytheistic, animist, is that's the one word, like animorphic, I think that's one of the words.
Anamorphic,
Anamorphic. It doesn't do justice to what Hinduism is. All of that to say, we have to understand Hinduism through a lens that is Hindu. Just as we have to understand Anvay's yoga study from a lens that is Indic or Anvay's life perspective, or just have to understand Sambar as a lens that is Indic, not as a foreign lens. So if we were to take an Indic lens and apply it to Hinduism, what we find is that the name itself doesn't hold. Of course, Hindu has historically been used as well. It's not a foreign name, as some people say. It's associated with the Sindhu Nadi. But what we see as Hinduism today would describe itself as Sanatan Vedic Dharma. Sanatan means timeless. Okay? Not eternal, because eternal implies that it started at one point and is still going. It is just timeless. It is great whenever you pick it up. And idli would taste, not to you, but to you, would taste great whether we were aged 5. A fresh idli would taste great when we were 5 and would taste great when we were 35. It's timeless. It's a timeless thing. So, Sanatan. If it's timeless, what does it find itself grounded in? It finds itself grounded in the Vedas, the wisdom of the Vedas. And we know that there are 4 Vedas: Rigved, Samaved, Yajurved, Atharvaved. Okay? What is in those Vedas? The Vedas have a lot of things, mantras, Aranyaka, Samhita, so on. But broadly, you can understand those. All of the 4 Vedas are divided into 3 sections. Karma Kand, which is the process of worship, includes Havan, Yajna, and so on. Upasana Kand, which are the mantras and the process of remembering the divine, which is in Upasana Kand. And Gyan Kand, which is the philosophical sections of the Vedas. Okay, so the philosophical sections of the Vedas deal with what we'll cover it in a second. Right? It deals with philosophy. Sanatan Vedic. Dharma means what? Dharma is one of those words that is very loosely translated in English as duty. But dharma is a lot deeper than that. The root Sanskrit word for dharma is dhra, which means to uphold. So dharyate, that which upholds, is dharma. So a way to understand it is, it's not the duty as much as it is the essential nature of something. Sugar isn't sweet because it's its duty to be sweet. Because it's its essential nature to be sweet. If sugar was not sweet and it was salty, it would be salt, not sugar.
Precisely.
The duty of the sun is not to shine. It's the essential nature of the sun to give light and warmth. In the same way, the duty of a brother is not. A brother does not protect his sister, or a sister does not protect her brother, because it is their duty. But it is the essential nature of a loving relationship that one person protects the other. A duty of a citizen doesn't love and serve their country because it's somewhere written in code that you have to. It's the nature of a relationship with our country. So the nature of our most essential relationship to ourselves, as expounded in the Vedas and is timeless, is what we would call Sanatan Vedic Dharma.
I have one question because this just popped up when you were speaking. So then what is the difference between Dharma and Karma? Because Dharma also, you mentioned duty, that's what it is. Karma also according to me, sort of relates to, you performing your duty.
Yeah.
But what is the difference between
I
dharma
think
and
the
karma?
karma just means action, right? Karma means action, and karma means the results of action as well.
Okay.
So and we're going a little bit deep here, so it's going to be a bit theoretical, but it's really, really important to understand this.
Right.
When we say karma, or karma, as they say in London, karma.
UK.
This is like vegan restaurants called Karma Cafe.
Karma.
So when they say karma,
Yeah.
we see it as the results of action, only as the results of action.
Right.
We say like, अच्छा हुआ तो had good karma, बुरा हुआ तो had bad karma.
Yeah.
And if something bad happens to someone we don't like, we like to say karma is a
B, whatever, yeah.
complete.
Yeah.
So it's like karma is just the results of what we do. But actually, in Sanatan Vedic Dharma, karma is way more than that. It's not just the results of the action. It is the action plus the intention.
Right.
And the way that the karma works is that it becomes the fuel for our lifetimes,
Right.
our multiple lifetimes, right? And the whole goal of Sanatan Vedic Dharma, what we would call self-realization or moksha, and in Buddhism they would call it nirvana, and in Jainism they would call it kaivalya jnana, is to exit this cycle of karma, so that we're not constantly born.
Right.
But what is the cycle and how does it work? Well, we have to understand 3 types of karma exist. First one is what's known as sanchita karma. The total bank of karma that we have acquired across all of our lifetimes is stored in a total bank called sanchit karma.
Sanchit karma.
From that sanchit karma, in our lifetime, we will extract, withdraw some karma and be born in this lifetime. Okay? What that withdrawal depends on what asset has matured.
Yeah.
What FD has now matured for this lifetime. So we take that and we are born, and that extract is known as prarabdha karma. Right? Prarabdha karma is now translated often as destiny. Like you don't have a choice in your karma. It's all written. No, it's not. You have choices. Prarabdha karma is a range of possibilities that include self-realization in any given time. And the way we navigate those possibilities, the choices that we make, are what's known as purushartha. Okay? Now, again, let's just sort of stay with me because it's technical, but if you understand this, it answers a lot of questions and brings a lot of clarity to one's spiritual process. Sanchit karma, total bank. Prarabdha karma, extract for this lifetime. How we navigate that extract for this lifetime is known as purushartha. Okay? The attitude with which we undertake that purushartha, the attitude with which we make the choices, results in what is known as akarma. Results in what's known as akamya karma or nishkam karma. Okay? Akamya karma is what? If I choose to do something and I attach my ego to it, then it creates new karma. So karma that is prompted by kama or desire.
Right.
And that new karma that is created goes back into my sanchit karma.
It's like a cycle that is created.
Absolute cycle. It is an absolute cycle. So I will withdraw a certain amount, but I will create lots. So it could either be a net equal position, or I might create more in this lifetime, or I might create less. So, but so that the overall load weakens. So that is akamya karma. Or we can have nishkam karma, where I make the choices that I have to make, but do it without ego and egocentric desires. And so that just becomes an expression of my karma rather than something that deepens my own egotistical perspective on life. And when Arjun, for example, is in the middle of the battlefield and gives Bhagavan Shri Krishna 1.25 chapters worth of reasons why he should not fight, Shri Krishna says that you don't have a choice to to be on this battlefield. You think it's your choice whether you're on this battlefield or not. It's not. You are here because of karma. But now that you are here, choose to fight without ego and egocentric desires. Choose to fight in nishkam karma so that you can exit this cycle.
And this doesn't go into sanchit karma.
Doesn't go back into the cycle.
You got the concept.
Yeah. You know, and that's where this very famous verse, karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala heturbu mate sangostva karmani. That's where this comes from. Because it says, karmanya eva adhikaraste. Karma alone is your right, adhikar. Karmanya eva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. Not the fruit, not the result, kadachana ever. It has never been your right. Not that previously it was a right, now suddenly it has never been your right. You've never had the right to the results. Ma karma phala heturbuhu. So therefore don't act with the hetu, with the intention of karma phala, which is the results of your karma, but also mate sangostva akarmani, that do not get attached to akarma, inaction. I was like, "Arey, mere ko to matlab fruit nahi mera hai, so why should I act? I'll just sit, and not do anything." So it's a very, very deep, dynamic, philosophical yet practical aspect of the Bhagavad Gita that unfortunately very simply is now translated as karam kar, phal ki asha mat kar. And then people are just like, okay, karam kar, phal ki asha na kar. So they will do things and they'll tell themselves, okay, I'm doing this without any intention.
But the intention
in their
is there,
heart they have an intention.
Right.
And in their heart, like they are leading. On the outside they might want to show that they don't have any intention, but on the inside that intention is like eating them up.
Yeah.
And such a limited translation.
Yeah.
I'm not criticizing people. I'm just saying, understand Sanatan Vedic Dharma for what Sanatan Vedic Dharma wants to say in a language and in a philosophical construct or in a mental model that is Bharatiya. Not absorbing something, not absorbing thoughts on like duty, action, intention and all from a different language.
Wow.
And to everyone watching, I feel like saying, because many people think, अरे ये तो ऐसा टाइप का आदमी होगा, ऐसा बोल रहा है उसका life. He's an elder bro. He's just as much of a Gen's, I don't know how to say it in any other way. You're a Gen Z man who's just 15 years old.
So I'll tell you what, I studied this philosophy when I was like your age, even younger than you.
Yeah.
Right? Like my study period was roughly the age of about 19 through till 21 or like 20 through till 22. That's the time when I studied Shastra.
Yeah.
What qualifies me to talk about it, or what made me feel like at least have some qualification to open my mouth and talk about it, is living this philosophy for 15 years and going through all sorts of challenges, work, missed promotions, breakups, bereavements, loss of people in my life, and then finding that holding on to this Shastra is still what is getting me through.
Yeah.
Then that gave me, okay, bhai, this is it. And then it was like, okay, well, if it is for me and has truly enriched my life, then let's share it.
Yeah.
But also, like we discussed in the last podcast, it took a lot of nudging from a lot of people.
Yeah. And I think that was your tattva coming in, taking you towards
maybe.
bringing you back to the path. Yeah, I think the message can be find your tattva. I don't know how.
Look, I'll tell you, we spoke a little bit about like what is, we asked the question, what is Sanatan Vedic Dharma? It's a very big question and I gave quite a technical answer to it. So let me simplify it, right? If you, I'll give you a proper example and a fun example, right? The proper example is, if you remember, in like 6th standard, you would have this diagram of the earth.
Right.
And there would be a cross section in the middle.
Right.
I'd be like, there's different layers of the earth. There's like the atmosphere, then there's the surface.
Yes.
Outer mantle, inner
crust,
mantle, crust, core.
Mantle and core.
Yeah.
Itna, like 5-6 layers are there.
Right.
So that's the proper example.
Right.
The fun example is we look at a Ferrero Rocher. There's a nice golden crumple layer. Then there's like a nice crunchy biscuit layer.
Yeah, then inside
there's
a
soft
wafer.
layer.
Yeah.
And then there's like a little nut in the middle.
Right.
So in the same way, Sanatan Vedic Dharma has a lot of layers. Okay?
Right.
At the core of that layer, of all the layers, is the truth, which is beyond words, beyond conception, beyond visualization. It is just called Sat Chit Anand. That's the purpose of Hinduism, is to experience that Satchidanand. That's why I say it's not just a religion of faith, it is a religion of experience. And everything points us towards that experience. So the core of Sanatan Vedic Dharma is that truth, which is beyond words, as indicated by Satchidanand. The next layer above that is what we would call philosophy.
Right.
Philosophy answers the question, what is my relation to the truth? And there are many philosophies, the 6 principal Vedic philosophies. Of those 6 principal Vedic philosophies, the most predominant one today is Vedanta, which is considered to be the most advanced one in terms of personal engagement. And even in Vedanta, there are 3 sub-schools, and there are many sub-schools. But the 3 principal sub-schools are Advaita, Dvaita, Vishishtadvaita. I won't go into what they are, but just so that people are familiar with at least the words.
Yes.
When someone says Advaita or Dvaita, they know that it is referring to a philosophy that says, how do I connect with the truth?
Yes.
Core is truth, next layer is philosophy. The next layer above that is theology. Theology answers the question, if I have a connection to the truth, then who is God? What is the relation between me, truth, and God? And in Hinduism, we have 6 principal visualizations or 6 principal manifestations of the divine. It's called Shanmata, and this system was codified by Adi Shankaracharya 1200 years ago. And those 6 are Bhagavan Shri Vishnu, Bhagavan Shiva, Devi Ma, Adi Parashakti, Ganapati, Skanda, and Surya. Okay, so associated with Vishnu Bhagavan, we have Vaishnava Sampradaya. Shiva, we have Shaiva Sampradaya. Devi, we have Shakta Sampradaya. Ganapati, we have Ganapatya Sampradaya. With Skanda, we have Kaumara Sampradaya. And with Surya, unfortunately, the Sampradaya is now very, very diminished as a result of, conquest, occupation, and so on. But you had the Saurya Sampradaya. And what remains of Saurya Sampradaya are the relics of major temples like Konark Sun Temple, Modhera Sun Temple. In Kashmir, there is Martand Sun Temple in Kashmir. And the last remnants of it are Chhat Puja that we see today. And even Gayatri Mantra, the predominance of Gayatri Mantra comes from Saurya Sampradaya. That is now accepted everywhere. So this layer of theology, what we would call theology, again I'm using the word, otherwise I would say Shanmata, but Shanmata people would not understand. So that's why I'm saying theology. Theology says, if I exist and divine exists, or truth exists, what is the connection with the divine? Yeah. The next layer beyond that is practice. Practice could be worshipful practice, like puja, havan, homa. It could be meditative practice, like different kriyas, japa, and so on. And it could be societal practice, like what are the rules of society? What are the rites of passage? What are the sanskaras that we have to go through? When you get married to someone, how do you know that they are married? Well, because they go through a vivaha sanskar. So that is the next layer. That is the practice of the faith. And then the final layer that sits above all of this is history. What is the history of the faith? What have we gone through? How have these perspectives developed? When did this happen? Now, as practitioners of the faith, we have to understand, we have a choice. I can only stay at one layer if I want. Or I can go across all the layers, but always stay connected to the truth.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can just stay at the history layer and get very angry at all of the things that went wrong.
Right.
And it is heart-wrenching when you hear the stories. Like, it really, really breaks your heart. But if we just stay at that layer, we will only stay angry. The power of forgiveness comes when we know that layer, but operate across the layers and stay connected and rooted in the truth. So if you have to create a visual, a framework for what Sanatan Vedic Dharma is, this is a very helpful framework. It helps you navigate the practice, the philosophy, the visions of divinity, the truth and the history.
Wow. I think this is, it's so nice that we're going in depth, because it's like you said, you're not just scratching the surface, you're nourishing the mind. I hope everyone listening is getting that, because I'm getting it out of what you're saying. And the nourishment makes you think and actually try and inculcate, take the next step. I think, nudge is for you to take the next step ahead. And I love that. And I think since we are on a bit of a time, we have so many questions. I'm going to try and encapsulate what's left in a rapid fire.
I want to ask this one question, sir, because he spoke about religion and we also had that. So, sir, I'm so sorry. Please, I think I'm going to be sued by the end of the episode.
Thoda clarification नीचे रख दो, sir. Every time I say sir, it means Om.
Okay, so Om, we were speaking about religion as well. So we have, living in India, secular country, we have multiple religions around us. So speaking from one of the most, I would say, Hindu being the most dominant religion in our country. We have Muslims, we have Christians, we have a number of religions.
I know which one.
So, when us as Hindus, when we pray, we might pray to a deity being Lord Shiva, Lord Ram, Lord Krishna, Lord Vishnu, whoever it may be. When a Muslim person is praying, he or she would be praying to Allah. When a Christian person is praying, they're praying to God, or Jesus being the Son of God. So, my main question is, irrespective of the religion, when we are praying, who's at the other end listening to us? Irrespective of the religion, who is listening to us at the other end? Like, what happens when we pray?
The way I understand it, and the way I've experienced it actually, is that there is one undifferentiated, indivisible truth. That is a divine truth that manifests in different forms to be able to connect with us based on what is our personality type and what is our needs. So we all have a certain predisposition to venerating the divine in a certain name, form, framework, and so on. So the divine will manifest as that for us.
Right?
Like some of us will pray to Krishna, for example. And some of us will pray to Rama. But if you ask a Krishna Bhakt who has gone very, very, very deep, not just in the philosophy but in the practice, what difference do you see? Say, I'm connected to Krishna because that's my personality, but I don't necessarily see that much of a difference. You'll see people who are worshipping Bhagavan Shri Krishna. Some will worship Bhagavan Shri Krishna as Balakrishna, Laddu Gopal. Some people will worship Bhagavan Shri Krishna as Vrindavan Bihari. Radha and Krishna together. Some people will worship Bhagavan Shri Krishna as Govardhan Dhari. He is lifting the Govardhan Parvat. Some people will worship Krishna as
slaying guns.
Exactly. Or Yogacharya. Giving the message of the Bhagavad Gita. They're all worshipping Bhagavan Shri Krishna. Why? In different phases. Because that is the connect that they have based on their own personality type. So, on the other side of this is, in my understanding, in my experience, and my knowledge, a single, indivisible divinity that manifests for us based on our needs. And is this my opinion? Yes, but this opinion is also backed by Shastra, because in the Rig Veda, it says ekam sat vipra bahuda vadanti, which says that the truth is one, but the wise call it by different names.
You had said this in Ranveer's podcast.
Every time someone asks me this question, I give this answer. Not because it's like one line that I have learned, but because this opinion or this exposition needs to be backed by Shastra. And there will be different Shastric perspectives as well. There will be other Shastric perspectives. No, this deity is supreme and all others are expressions of this deity. And yes, That's fine, because they are also backing it by Shastra. But the reality is, like, we have to say, okay, if you go to the library will have books of architecture, they'll have books of, I don't know, physics, they'll have books of history. Are you going to read all of the books and say this is the truth? Or are you going to go to the library and read the books for the purpose that you are there? If you're an architecture student and you're reading books about, I don't know, translated Russian literature classics, like, okay, you're reading something, but like, what's the point? That's not the reason why you're there. So if we see the various manifestations of the divine like a library, like, we have to ask ourselves, are we seeing that manifestation of the divine to understand Bhagwan, or to understand Allah, or to understand God fully, or we're understanding Allah, God, Bhagwan to prove others wrong? If we're doing it to prove others wrong, we'll always see difference and we'll say, no, your perspective is wrong, my perspective is right. But if we go in with the intention of understanding divinity for who they are, then we'll understand them fully. Then we'll be aligned. And if you think about the history of India, like, I did an interview recently with the BBC, and they asked me about politics. And I said to them is that, look, my channel, my whole platform is non-political, because what I discuss is Shastras, and really BJP, Congress, Aam Aadmi Party don't really come into that. But even though we are apolitical, we are not non-political.
Yeah.
Because to be a spiritual person or to walk the path of spirituality is to make a choice about our identity. And if we make that choice, if we build our identity such that it is expansive and it creates space for others, we start to find that there might be people whose opinions we disagree with, but we don't hate them as people.
Yeah.
I think today we have lost the plot. We have lost the distinction between that, not just in India, everywhere in the world.
Right.
Yeah.
That I don't disagree with your opinion. I hate you as a person. I was like, well, okay, if you're going to create labels and hate people off the back of those labels, then how are you ever going to come together? And I'll tell you, like, in a Bharati or a Shastric or a Indic sense, a lot of these Western labels just are completely meaningless. Are completely meaningless. What is the meaning of patriarchy? Hindu patriarchy, Brahminical patriarchy. No Brahmin priest has ever been called father. Patriarchy, padra, father. That's the linkage.
Right.
Meaningless in a Shastric sense.
Yeah.
Right wing, left wing, meaningless. What does it mean? That if someone practices their faith, holding to the tenets of that faith, that person is right wing.
Right.
But what if that person practices their faith and is an advocate for social justice? Where do they fall?
Right.
Oh, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
What does it mean?
Right. Absolutely.
If someone believes that workers should not be exploited, but also believes that the means for emancipation is by creating capitalistic wealth, where do they stand?
Yeah.
These are meaningless terms. And look at what's happening in our society. We are whole scale adopting these terms from cultures that aren't ours, and in the end losing our unity as a nation.
I don't know a single person who's encapsulated the reason of what's happening, the divide, in a better way than this, man. This is it. And so, oh my God.
In today's episode of Bridging the Gap, we discuss politics.
Politics in a real sense, because it's true.
This is the truth. I mean, it is what it is at the end of it.
I feel, again, I don't want to say पहले सब कुछ अच्छा था और अब ऐसा हो गया है, but that's the beauty of, like, there were so many philosophies. This Shat Darshan that we say, it had one which was Charvak, and Charvak was what? I mean, you're basically eat to live, live to eat, and you'll let live and let whatever, you live till you die, that kind of thing. And then that was also okay, and then there was also the 6 different philosophies, and then the Gnostic philosophies, Buddhism, Jainism. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is everything coexisted very beautifully, and in our, like you said, that coexistence has been lost. I think to some extent there is a worldwide coexistence is just. I don't know.
I think it's very interesting. So I went to Belfast for the first time, which is a few years ago, several years ago now, which is the capital of Northern Ireland. And Northern Ireland is part of the UK, which is the northern part of the island of Ireland.
Yes.
And then the rest of Ireland is the Republic of Ireland, which is a separate country, right? So Belfast is the capital of Northern Ireland. I went to Northern Ireland, and a friend of mine was showing me around, and there's a big wall, that divides the city, a huge wall. And believe me, I have been to the India-Pakistan border, and I have not been as intimidated as I was standing there. Like, this is serious, like, no man's is huge, a huge concrete wall. And it was very interesting because driving in from the airport into the city town, which is not that far, but you encountered parts of the highway that had British flags, so the Union flag. And then you had parts of the highway that were European flags. And so I assumed that it was about Brexit. Right? But my friend tells me, no, the European parts are, I think they're Catholics. Yeah, the European parts are Catholics who support secession from the UK and integration into the rest of Ireland. And the Union flags are Protestants who support union with the UK and separation from the rest of Ireland. And I was just like, but both are Christian, no? I couldn't get my head around it. Because as a Bharatiya Hindu, someone who grew up here, we don't think twice about not just going into another sampradaya of Hinduism. I will happily, a Shaivite will happily go and pray. There are going to be some, no, I know this person who didn't pray, or I know this person.
But those are exceptions, generally.
In general. We will go and pray everywhere. Bhagavan Shri Ganapati, every temple. Which temple doesn't have Bhagavan Ganapati?
I mean, so it's the first deity that you spot when you just walk into the temple.
So Ganapatyas are everywhere, in whichever sampradaya you go.
And I feel in Hinduism, it's like before you start worshipping anyone, you should start with Ganpati and Lakshmi, right?
So you don't,
Saraswati,
we don't have distinctions in our heart between sampradayas, or sects. Apart from that, I have certainly been very comfortable as a child going to Gurudwara and feeling the presence of the divine there. I have been to Jain Derasars and prayed there, felt the presence of the divine there. No challenge, no issue. In my head, the thought only didn't come. The thought only didn't come, and for majority people, the thought does. So for me to go to another country, or to, I couldn't get my head around. I was like,
what is going on?
Christian
Exactly.
I think it comes from a place of insecurity in your own faith that makes you so.
I don't want to criticize. I don't want to criticize other faiths. What I want to do
feels that way.
What I want to do is make a linkage between faith and how we see ourselves. Is our faith making us expansive and creating space for dialogue? Or is our faith causing us to close down and exclude others? And that's not just religion, faith. You can have faith in a number of things. The people are very faithful towards certain left-wing ideologues, that have Western left-wing ideologues, not even Indian. They're very faithful towards liberal principles that just don't apply in our society. So, fine, I may not agree with everything, but there are many things that I do agree with. My only question is, if I call myself a label, am I going to exclude others? Like, if I'm a Mumbai Indians fan, am I going to criticize Mahendra Singh Dhoni because he has been a successful CSK captain?
No, obviously
It's
not.
dumb, bro.
Yeah.
Who does that? But suddenly in the political field we do it. I don't get why. Just don't get it.
Yeah. There are just a couple of questions, and I'm saying rapid fire because I don't know. Sometimes putting you on the spot gives you a nicer answer. Sometimes you're able to understand it more easily. Pata nahi, maza aayega
Basically,
kal.
he basically wants to tell you that he's going to make you very conscious right now. So you have to
Great feedback like this. Be less verbose.
No, not at all.
No, I know. I'm
Yeah,
kidding.
yeah, I
I'm
know you're
joking.
kidding. But just so there are no misunderstandings. Anyway, okay. So rapid fire, just the first question, and this we also did in our live series, which might come out soon.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll start. We'll keep alternating.
Okay.
There's just 4 questions in total. Starting with Ram Mandir. We spoke about historic wrongs, certain things. I don't want to get political. I just want to know your opinion. Ram Mandir bana hai. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? What is your thought? And what does that mean
for the country?
Bharat?
Yeah. So I'm delighted by it. I think like millions of people across the country, I too had tears that I just couldn't explain while watching that ceremony. I would love for it to be a trigger for the re-establishment of a dharmic society. And I don't mean that as a political statement, but I mean it by the definition of dharma that we had spoken about, which is our essential nature. So what I would love to see is a resurgence of people understanding Sanatan Vedic Dharma from our own vocabulary and adopting it into their lives to have a more encompassing and embracing worldview.
Love it, man. And what do you think it's going to do as an economy boost for Ayodhya and India?
I think, look, India's economy is going to grow one way or the other. I think what we need to do, one of the beautiful aspects about India that kept India united for so long, as one conceptual nation that then took birth on the 15th of August 1947, was the fact that for thousands of years we traveled to Tirth Kshetras across the country. And I think if there, as a resurgent economy, we're able to facilitate that for all faiths, and retain an idea of one country and strengthen the idea of one country, I think that's a brilliant thing.
Beautiful, man. Concise and to the point. Your turn.
You can tell I've been answering questions in a boardroom, right?
Have you watched Suits?
Yeah, of course.
So I just got like a Harvey Specter vibe from you right now.
Acha, chalo. You haven't seen me in a suit ever, right?
No, I
haven't worn a suit since 2020. So
what do you wear? Office formals, just normal shirt?
I used to wear a suit and tie every single day before the pandemic. After the pandemic, I just started wearing chinos, cotton shirts, and like trainers.
Comfort.
So it's like,
but I think I now need to get back a little bit more formal.
Because you're the MD, you need to set an example.
No, not so much that. I feel like I think sometimes the occasion demands it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have actually been in a boardroom, not in a suit. So like I feel like I've pushed the boundary a little bit. Like that's not something you would do in India, and I've done that in London for a bank that's 260 years old. So
did the board ever ask you that, oh, why aren't you wearing a suit and become like us?
Never.
That's something like MD, so people will be like,
yeah. I feel so. I wear this as a shikha, not as a man bun.
Yeah.
That's the reason why I've kept it, because I grew it out in COVID, and I found that actually it made a difference. It made a difference to my quality of my meditations. I feel like it serves the purpose that it has been described in the Shastras to serve. And I started to wear it. Obviously, I don't sit down and talk to everyone and explain what a shikha is in the West. So they just assume that here's a slightly hatke MD who has a man bun. So they get a little bit more latitude as a result of that. Also, I think I am on the younger end, like much younger end of the spectrum as compared to the MD goes. I think he's just young and crazy.
That's true. So what I wanted to basically ask you is, I do this every day. So basically I'm talking, and since your YouTube channel was based on the Hanuman Chalisa,
we are coming back.
So I'm so sorry for that.
No, don't be sorry. I'm just stating a reality, and we spoke about this earlier. It's like we worked on this channel for 1 year, and in one moment the whole thing was wiped out. So when you faced failure, are you gonna give up or are you gonna show up? and we decided to show up.
Right.
So 48 hours after that channel was wiped out, here I am talking to you. Tomorrow we're going to be recording in the studio. We're going to show up and we're going to keep serving.
And with much, much better content.
I hope so.
Yeah. So basically what my question was, I think as an Indian, as a Bharatiya, every Hindu, I would say, would be knowing this, the Hanuman Chalisa.
Yeah.
So what is the power if one recites it on a daily basis? Not, I would say 10 times, but just once. If an individual recites the Hanuman Chalisa on a daily basis, once a day, what power does that give him?
My experience is that it creates space between your trigger and response. So a very simple thing, if I call you a name, immediately you're going to react.
Right.
Yeah. And that reaction will come without even thinking. I might look in your direction and say, hey, whatever, Sukde, I might look in your direction and say it. You might get angry and call me, hey, mote. But you don't even realize, you haven't even thought about it.
Yeah.
You don't even think, you think that I'm talking to you, I might be talking to some other guy.
Right.
So you have a trigger and you have a reaction. What Hanuman Chalisa does is it creates space between that trigger and the reaction. So next time you hear someone say something like that, you will pause and you will ask yourself, is that the best reaction? And so in that situation, you'll be available to respond, not react. Now this Sukde and Mote is a simple example. But when life triggers us, when we fail at something, when we get our heart broken, when someone whom we love passes away, as unfortunately everyone whom we love will someday, what is it that will give us the emotional resilience to be able to get through that situation?
Right.
It is a powerful sadhana, and Hanuman Chalisa is a powerful sadhana. And you think about it, in today's world, everyone talks about stress, but stress is a very simple equation.
Right.
It is the amount of pressure on top of the amount of resilience. Okay?
Precisely.
If the pressure is not as big as the resilience, so the resilience is greater than the pressure, then it's not stressful. It's inconvenient or whatever. It's just a situation. It's performance.
Can I say something really emotional to me right now? When you mentioned about someone passing away, it was my grandmother. And I was very close to her. We used to sleep in the same room. It was like that. And she passed away the day after my birthday. My birthday was on the 7th December, and the next day, around 3-4 a.m., she passed away. And since then, I didn't chant as much, but since then, just something struck me. I'm like, I couldn't take it. I just cried once, but it hurt me. It hurt me too much. And sometimes when I think about it, I do get emotional. So I'm trying not to be emotional right now, but I felt precisely what you said. That strength that you get from reciting, and I recite the Hanuman Chalisa every day. It just gives me that calmness that I need. I don't react, because let's say I would be crying right now because my grandmother was that close to me. But for me to be calm and composed to react to the situation as to how I should, I feel I have to give credit to the Hanuman Chalisa for that. So I could relate to every single word.
And you will not believe there are millions of examples like this. Millions of examples of people who have been able to draw strength and move forward with their lives.
Yeah.
So much so-called bad stuff happens to everyone all the time.
Yeah.
People who were just loving and nice get cancer and are gone in no time.
Right.
There's the people who are horrible.
Nothing happens to them.
Like the Undertaker.
That's a great example.
How do you make sense of that?
Yeah.
Okay, there's a theoretical explanation around karma that we discussed, that the Sanchit karma finished, your prarabdha karma finished and so on, but does it really comfort you? No. To understand that, to give that thought space to take root in your mind, you have to have something that is fertilizing your mind in the first place.
Absolutely.
Sadhana is what fertilizes our mind.
Absolutely.
And what is very interesting about it, we spoke about that pressure equation, right? Amount of pressure versus amount of resilience. When the pressure is greater than the resilience, then we have stress.
Right.
What does sadhana do? Sadhana will never reduce the amount of pressure in your life. Because that is karma. That pressure has to come, it will come. You work on a channel for 1 year, in one moment it will disappear. What is to happen will happen. But what sadhana gives us is it makes us so resilient.
Gives you the strength.
That what could have been a crisis becomes an inconvenience. And actually not just an inconvenience, it becomes an opportunity.
Crisis is the mother of opportunity. Yeah, man. Wow. Yeah. Similar to the Hanuman Chalisa, there's the Raksha Stotram.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not similar, but like many people, again, like there's this Swamiji who had come to Kevalinam recently, and he was talking about how this one person had a real difficult time happening in their house. I can't remember the reason, but they were going through an extreme challenge, and something you can say like how a death impacts you. You're just highly impacted, and things weren't going right. Like everything felt like it was going wrong, and then they started chanting the Raksha Stotram every day, and the energy changed in the house. Their life changed over a period of time, and it genuinely, the way it happened, apparently felt like magic. Apparently, I'm saying because I didn't know that person directly. I heard it through Swamiji, this story. So the Raksha Stotram, what is the story behind that? And again, what's the power of that? Does chanting it every day, what does it do?
I think if one of the beautiful things about stotrams, of mantras, of any form of chanting, is that it is like a fragrant flower. It can't help but spread its fragrance wherever it is. However sticky the room is, bring fragrant flowers and they will spread their fragrance. It's like a lamp. Like however dark a room is, you bring a lamp, instantly there's light. That's what the power of stotrams are. And these stotrams are there. They are available for us to connect with. Mantras are there. They are available for us to connect with. We have to choose to connect with it.
I love it, man. I think we can go on and on. Hinduism is an endless realm. I genuinely feel that even my study of yoga, as I go deeper in these shastras, because my MA, by the way, is also called MA Yoga Shastra.
Okay, nice.
So when you go deeper in this world, I always feel like there's more.
There's no end to it. It's like that. You can keep going. And that's the beauty of it, that it's eternal, I would say.
Yeah.
Or as he said,
Sanatan.
Timeless.
Sorry, I shouldn't have interrupted. Say it again.
No, it's okay. The message came across.
We are not here to put a particular sectarian or religious view in front of people. I certainly see it as part of my duty to demonstrate what impact Shastra, Sadhana and Sangha can have in your life. And my life has been completely transformed. So in a world where there are far too many distractions and many avenues to bring us down, that are normalized across society, I'm just here to offer an avenue that lifts people up. And it's like, here it is, like, it's been around for thousands of years. It's benefited millions and millions of people across history. Here it is. Take it. Take it, apply it for yourself, figure out what version of it works for you, and stick with it, because it'll really make a difference.
Man.
I had that remind me of one, I think, last question before we end this episode.
Okay.
Now I think as every Indian, this shlok, everybody would be knowing it. Om Bhurbhuvatsva Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimai Dhiyo Na Prachodayat, the Gayatri mantra. What is the sign? Because I think it's every kid in school, it's their morning prayers, like the Gayatri mantra that you have to do. What is the meaning of the Gayatri mantra? And the power behind it, the meaning of the Gayatri mantra along with the power, and why should one recite it?
I'm not going to give you a surface answer. I'm going to give you a deep answer for this.
Sure. Okay, sure.
Let's translate the verse first. Okay, so when we say Om,
that's you.
Call it a symbol, right?
Yeah.
But it's much more than a symbol. Om is a representation of what we have called the truth.
Right.
That layered diagram,
Right.
center core of truth, Sachidananda, is represented by Om.
Oh.
Okay? Bhur, Bhuva, Swaha. These are different planes of existence. Okay? So, typically we call it heaven, hell. But in our dharma, we have lokas. Lokas are planes that are designed to execute certain type of karma. So we all have a certain type of karma that can only be executed in Bhu-loka, which is earth.
Right.
Okay, this plane. So Bhu, Bhuva, Swaha. These are higher realms.
Right.
There are other realms also. Bhu, Bhuva, Swaha, Tapaha, Janahat, Satyam, so on. They are lower.
You do it while doing a Sandhya. Oh,
Yes.
Satyam Tat Savitur India.
Yeah, so that's the Mahagayatri mantra includes those as well.
Right.
And there are lower realms as well.
This is all making so much sense to me now. Oh my God. Dad, you'll be proud of me today. Oh my God. That's what you do. Om Bhur right now. Om Bhu Mahajana Tapan Satyam. That's what you do.
That's Savitur Varenyam.
Satyam Bhargo Devasi Dhime Dhiyo. It's all making sense.
So, Bhu, Bhuva, Swaha are those lokas. Tat Savitur Varenyam. Om Bhu, Bhuva, Swaha. Tat Savitur Varenyam. Tat you. Savitur is a name of the sun deity. Sun. Surya. Varenyam. Varenyam, आपका वर्णन करती हूँ. Not praise is too small a word. I describe you as too small a word. But I try to capture in words what is an experience of seeing you, being in your presence, witnessing you, experiencing you. Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi. Through all of the lokas, Devasya, the divine beings, Dhimahi, one who illumines their, not just their intellect, but their sense of self, i.e. the core divinity inside them. Dhiyo yonaha prachodayat. That may you also illumine prachodayat, my sense of self. So, we see the divine as the source of the self.
Right.
Yeah, we see the sun and light is personified in Shastra as the light of knowledge. And this is not just as a Vedic mantra, which the Gayatri mantra is, but even in Upanishadic mantras. Like in Kathopanishad, it is said, Natatra suryo bhati na chandra tarakam nema vidyuto bhanti kutoyam agnihi tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam tasya bhasa sarvam idam vibhati. That the sun, the moon, the stars don't shine, and I am not aware of them shining without first contacting the light within, which once contacted makes everything shine. So the Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, the light that illumines all divine beings. May you illumine me as well. Yeah. I mean, there's so much depth.
Right.
Like there's so much. There's a beautiful connection between Gayatri mantra and Hanuman Chalisa also, which maybe next podcast we will.
I really want to know more about it right now, but
I think it's a good point to say that we are doing this again, because I bloody hell know we are. But wow, this is, I honestly don't feel like saying anything else other than, and not in a way that अरे अपने बड़ों को करना चाहिए, but I feel like bowing down because
I was honestly going to do that after we shot, but I have
after we shot, I envisioned myself touching your feet, and I mean it.
This is all credit is to Guru, all credit is to Bhagavan actually. See, people sometimes, Hindus, Advaitins, talk down on Bhagavan. Say, no, there's only Satyam, and what is this Bhagavan and all that. The divine manifested in a form to bring it to us.
Yeah.
The divine manifested as Shiva to bring us Yoga Sutras. The divine manifested as Bhagavan Shri Krishna to bring us Bhagavad Gita. So, Bhagavan, first credit. Second credit to Guru, who took that message of Bhagavan and met us where we were. Well, I was at uni, I was lost, I was drinking, I was partying, and Guru met me where I am. So all this credit goes to Bhagavan and Guru, not to me.
And we would love it, if you could also bless us. Good things.
I genuinely, this is my heartfelt desire, and that's why I'm on this podcast as well. I really want BTG to become one of the biggest podcasts, not just in the country, but in the world. I feel like I've been on so many podcasts and I've consumed so many podcasts, and this is one of the things that I love about this one, is that it is not at all created for clips. It is not at all created for sensationalism. You guys aren't sitting here and thinking, oh, spirituality is trending, so let's get home. You guys are just doing what you're doing, and you're doing it in such an authentic and accessible way. And I feel like anyone who connects with you, connects with this podcast, instantly connects with the two of you. And I really hope that many, 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 many more people connect with this podcast so that they can connect with you guys as well.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
What to say, bro?
This is big fan, bro. Big fan.
Big fan by big fan. Wow, man. This has been amazing.
We are really blessed to hear
We're really
that.
blessed.
Yeah.
And we're so thankful that God brought us together.
Exactly.
I honestly feel that's how it works.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Om Dada.
Yeah.
It's genuinely like you're a big brother.
Yes.
I feel like I've always searched for a big brother. I have an elder sister. But like a big brother connection, I think like a bro to bro, there's something else. And I feel like I found my big brother. And this is a big deal for me because I've never had like an elder brother at all. Like it's just not been there. So this is, I feel like you're my...
We're going to hug once the camera goes.
Yeah. And thank you so much to everyone who's watched. And thank you, the biggest one to you for giving us your time, because this has gone beyond our plan or sort of time plan with you.
We
in
thought,
every way. So
exactly.
we're really, really thankful, and thank you so much, guys, for watching.
And see you in the next episode.
See you in the next episode. And this is just signing off for this one. Thank you
Cheers.
so much.
Take
Thank
care.
you so much.
Thank you.